The Federal Party has a new leader, and we will have a new prime minister very soon, and possibly an election campaign shortly afterwards. Tom Mulcair joins us. Tom, so good to see you.
Great to be with you too. It's been a long time.
Yes, love talking to you. Okay, so it was a landslide victory for Mark Carney, 86% of the vote. Former Deputy Prime Minister gets 8%. So what do you think the message is from the Liberal Party with this?
Well, there's an old saying from Shakespeare that Brutus never became Caesar, and I guess she was seen as the person who was able to get rid of Trudeau because they knew that they had no chance unless they did. But she seems to have not been able to endear herself in the hearts of that many federal Liberal voters. So the die is cast, and now we've got Mark Carney, highly experienced former governor of the Bank of Canada, former governor of the Bank of England, occupied positions at the highest level of the United Nations, and it was a chairman of the board of $1 trillion investment fund. So that's a pretty good calling card, of course, which meant that Pierre Poilievre had a news conference at noon to attack him personally and use bad words to describe him. So it's welcome to Canadian politics. I think that Mr. Poilievre is having trouble trying to figure out which attack or which approach to use to Mr. Carney. So he just goes back to attack mode. He just simply starts becoming very personal and going after him. I don't think it's going to work. I think Canadians are so insecure and uncertain right now with what's happening with Donald Trump. They've already got one grumpy guy south of the border. They're looking for a little bit of sunshine up here and somebody who can reassure them. And I think that that's going to be Mark Carney.
Well, Mark Carney is going to be putting together a cabinet. We understand it's supposed to be a much smaller one from the current one. We've also heard that he might bring in outsiders, people like Jean Charest or even people from other parties. Do you think he'll do that?
It would have been tempting if he had more time. Let's say the election were in October. But right now we're looking at an election call within 2 weeks. It'd be very hard to start bringing somebody in who doesn't know a file and to give it to them. So we're going into, for want of a better term, some sort of caretaker mode right now. So we've got the ministers who are already there. That'll be a political opportunity for the Conservatives of Pierre Poilievre to attack the Liberals. They'll say, aha, you see, it's the same old gang. But it's hard to bring in new people or start assigning things when you're heading straight into an election campaign because they're already going to be worried about getting reelected in their riding. So I think that we're going to see a lot of the same. It's tempting to say that he could get some outside people. Charest's an excellent example, who might be able to help in dealing with the Americans because he's got experience on that. We could see something like that, but what happens once the campaign is going? How do you get somebody like that actually into play? That would be the challenge, Mitsumi.
Okay. And given the results of yesterday's vote, for Chrystia Freeland, Karina Gould, what does Mark Carney do with them, do you think? They don't have any leverage really to offer.
I think Karina Gould is going to either stay as House Leader or get a cabinet position. A fellow named Mark Holland backed Chrystia Freeland. So it would be easy for Carney to say, well, I'm going to reward Karina Gould. She was fair with me in the campaign. I'll give her the Ministry of Health, and I'll move out Mark Holland. That's the type of small thing that I could see happening. I also think that Chrystia Freeland is going to be an essential pick to help with the negotiating team dealing with Trump. Right now, the key team is we've got LeBlanc, we've got Champagne, and we've got Joly. They're doing a good job. Could she come in and help them? I think that might be a smart move. Show a lot of class also, to somebody who must feel quite wounded at having finished in the single digits.
And very quickly, Tom, how soon do you think we will see an election?
2 weeks.
Okay.
I think the election's call's coming in 2 weeks because there has to be a return. Prorogation ends 2 weeks from today.
Okay.
So that's basically the timeline, because otherwise you have to start looking at planning a throne speech. Then you have to go back into the House. Carney's not elected. He wouldn't even be there for question period. And at the first opportunity, all the opposition parties would defeat them. So they might as well remain masters of the timing, decide the date of the election. The only big thing left to decide is the length of the election. Do they go as short as possible, 4.5, 5 weeks? Do they go as long as possible, 7 weeks or so? My advice, if I were, looking at this as a Liberal, I would say go long. Let people get exposed to more Poilievre. But there are a lot of people who are going to be saying, no, strike while the iron is hot, get this thing done as fast as possible. We'll see which of those two options Carney goes with.
Okay. Thank you so much for this, Tom. Good to see you.
Great to be with you. All the best.